What's up everyone, it's Robert over at Burton Racing. In this video, we're going to be going over our latest product, which is our dual fuel pump harness. A lot of you watching this know about our single fuel pump harness, our upgrade harness. That's primarily based on the legacy chassis Honda Acura vehicles. This harness in particular is going to allow you to run 2 fuel pumps, but it's completely universal. So you can go ahead and put this on your Ford, or you can go ahead and put it on your Honda. So to start off, we have our fuse box here, and this is going to have 2 relays and 2 fuses. Each circuit is completely independent. You will have 2 triggers to turn on each fuel pump either independently, or maybe you want to wire them together to run both pumps at the same time. We utilize 12 gauge wiring to the pump and to feed the power to the fuse box. Now the cool thing about this harness being universal and being pretty much customizable to your application, we offer our plug-in pin kits here, and then we have a flying lead. So we have flying leads available for this harness. So if you're not wanting to worry about crimping or anything like that, we have this so you can plug right in. Not a big deal. Now you have 5 foot of wire that you can run out, whether it be an existing fuel pump connection that you're going to now use to trigger this relay with the fuse box, or maybe you want to run this directly to the ECU. You can just cut the size and then put your ECU pins on and then plug it right into your ECU connector. So our inputs and our triggers are covered. Now running to the fuse box, we have 12 gauge wiring with ring terminals. Notice this wiring is rather long. This is so it will fit kind of our existing customer base where these are mounted under the dash. It's very popular to mount our existing kits under the dash because typically on a race car, there's now a lot more room. And on a factory car, you already have a lot of power source connections there. So this kind of puts everything all in one place. These guys are designed to run out into the engine bay if necessary, or maybe you have a battery located in the passenger floorboard. These are plenty long enough to reach whatever you want. We have 2 ring terminals. Now these ring terminals are perfect for our existing customers attaching to the underhood fuse box in their Honda Acura application, or these can be used for a bus bar situation where you just have multiple power connections. You may have a bus bar already for radiator fans or other external devices you got to put a lot of power to. These work great. They're really easy to install on your bus bar, or they're really easy for our existing customers to utilize. So our lines are really long here. These will reach all the way to the back of the vehicle. Now what we have here is our DTP connectors for our power outputs. So we're running power to the fuse box. We're triggering the power with our inputs at our DTM connectors. And then that's turning the pumps on. Once again, we have our plug-in pin or our flying lead so that we can minimize any wiring. The plug-in pins work great for true, really custom applications where you want everything to fit really nice and perfect. But these work really good for people that want to minimize the work on the car. Plug it in, cut to length, and then you can secure it with a butt connector or a traditional style crimp. So we have our ground ring terminals here. We use a 1/4 inch stud here. This is really standard. It's what our customers use now, but it's perfect for any custom application. You have some length. So if you have a fuel pump mounted on your frame rail, or maybe it's on a fuel cell, you have plenty of room to locate a good, clean ground connection. It doesn't have to be right perfectly next to the pump. You do have some distance to do so. Now, why would you want to run 2 fuel pumps? Basically, the advantage of running 2 fuel pumps is you'll see a lot of race cars with larger pumps like a Magna Fuel or something like that. They're not exactly streetable. If you look in the Magna Fuel book, it says it has a dedicated run time, then it has a cool down time and stuff like that. It's a really big motor, it generates a lot of heat, pushes a lot of fuel. The more fuel you push, the hotter it's going to get, the less effective the fuel is. The fuel is also cooling the engine. What you do by over circulating the fuel is you're creating a lot of heat. So you are able to do a staged pump where you have one pump come on at low speed, or maybe this is a street car and you have one pump that comes on to run the vehicle all the time while you get around town. And then your secondary pump may come in when you go into higher RPM, or you come into a higher amount of boost. Basically, when there's more load on the engine, you can have an ECU, especially a standalone, trigger an output on the ECU that will turn on the secondary pump. And then you're only using that additional fuel. Instead of over circulating it, you're only using it when the motor needs the extra fuel. So what we like about this kit is it's long. It will pretty much fit any standard factory application chassis. We have these in 2 doors and 4 doors. Like I said, most of our products are based around Honda and Acura, but these fit universally. This is one of our first universal harnesses, and the fit and finish is great. You're using true 12 gauge wiring. So what that means is when you are utilizing 2 medium-sized pumps, let's say you might have 2 Walbro in-tank 400s, or maybe you're going to an inline pump such as the AEM 400 or maybe the Bosch 44. This works great for running wiring outside of the vehicle, whether it be you're sumping an existing fuel tank or maybe you're running an external fuel cell. These really work good to allow you to install all new wiring, install it so that it's going to work perfect for your setup, and then also ensure the safety and reliability through a circuit that is going to allow those heavier loads of amperage. Now keep in mind, running power to this will in turn create more voltage at the pump when we're running off the alternator voltage. So what we prefer customers to do is run off charging voltage. So if you have a bus bar, it's best to hook it directly to the battery instead of a regulated voltage source, because instead of 12 volts, now we're going to be running at 13.5 all the way to some cars running 14.2 charging voltage. If you look on your manufacturer sheet for the fuel pump, you'll see that they're rated at 13.5. So when we wire in our fuel pumps, we always do charging voltage, because what happens is now we're running at the manufacturer's minimum 13.5 volt, and we're getting the most out of the pump. When you take a pump that's rated at 13.5 volts and then you run it off a regulated 12 volt voltage, it's no longer going to be as effective as most would expect it to be. So when you purchase your pumps and you're saying, okay, I'm only going to run 800 horsepower, you may need to expect less when you're running 12 volt at the fuel tank. Most cars are regulated at that location for the factory pumps, and this harness is designed to get the most out of your fuel pumps by upping the voltage, upping the wiring size. We run all wires independent. As you can see, they may be going to the same place or same location, but they're loomed individually. That way, if there's an accident or if there's a fire or anything happens, you're not going to lose both instantly. You're going to typically be able to have one line available, at least if you have a fire in this general area. If you ever have a short or an electrical issue, you're not going to have both lines tied up into one loom. Effectively, if one goes down, you're going to burn up the other one. The other thing that we like about this harness is a lot of guys may be running circle track or SCCA where the wiring is very simplified or basic. Having the lengths of wires and having them completely loomed individual. Now you can run one to the back of the car and power a fuel pump, and then you can run another to the front of the car and power a radiator fan. So this works really good for guys that are having completely stripped down cars, that are looking to use it for a sole racing application. This being a universal harness, it truly is universal, whether it be the chassis or whether you're using it for 2 fuel pumps or a fuel pump and a radiator fan.